The American dream, once a beacon of upward mobility, rooted in the foundational promise of homeownership, now feels like a cruel, elaborate joke. For generations, the idea was simple: work hard, save diligently, and eventually you could buy a home, build equity, and secure a piece of your future. It was the bedrock of stability, the primary vehicle for intergenerational wealth transfer, and a tangible symbol of self. But look around you. That dream is not just receding, it's being systematically dismantled. Before we begin, let me know in the comments, from which country are you watching this video? What we are witnessing today is not merely a cyclical market correction. This isn't just another housing bubble that will eventually burst and reset. No, what we are experiencing is a deliberate, orchestrated transformation of the housing market, designed to fundamentally alter our relationship with property, wealth, and ultimately, our autonomy. They want you to own nothing, and the housing crisis is their most potent weapon. Let's be crystal clear. The narrative you're fed by the mainstream media, by politicians, by the very institutions that profit from this distortion, is a carefully constructed deception. They tell you it's about millennials not saving enough, or about lazy zoning laws. These are convenient half-truths, distractions from the far more insidious reality. The truth is, the housing market isn't failing. It's being perfected for a new class of landlord, a new model of control. The financialization of housing isn't new, but its acceleration in the last decade has reached unprecedented, alarming levels. Who are these new landlords? They aren't your local mom-and-pop investors. We're talking about institutional behemoths, private equity firms, and hedge funds, all armed with seemingly endless pools of capital. Companies like BlackRock, Blackstone, and Starwood Capital are aggressively buying up single-family homes, entire neighborhoods even, often paying well above market value, snatching properties out from under the noses of first-time home. Think about the implications of this. When these corporate entities own vast swathes of residential property, they don't just become landlords. They become gatekeepers to the fundamental human right of shelter. They set the prices, dictate the terms, and fundamentally altered the social fabric of communities. Their primary allegiance is not to the well-being of the residents, but to their shareholders, to the relentless pursuit of profit. Your home becomes an asset class, a line item on a balance sheet, and you, the aspiring homeowner, become a perpetual renter, a serf in a digital feudal system. How did we get here? This didn't happen by accident. It's the culmination of decades of strategic policy decisions and monetary manipulation. At the heart of this lie the central banks and their policies. For years, we've seen interest rates held at historic lows, combined with unprecedented quantitative easing programs. What does this mean in plain English? It means an ocean of cheap money being pumped into the financial system. And where does this cheap money go? Not into wages for the working class. A significant portion flows directly into asset markets, distorting prices and inflating bubbles. Real estate becomes an irresistible magnet for this excess capital. Consider the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. While millions of ordinary Americans lost their homes, who swooped in to pick up the pieces? Those same institutional investors, often buying distressed properties at pennies on the dollar, aided by government programs designed to stabilize the market. In hindsight, these programs largely served to transfer wealth from the struggling homeowner to the well-connected corporate buyer. It was a massive transfer of wealth, disguised as a recovery effort. Beyond monetary policy, governmental decisions have played a critical role. Zoning laws, for instance, are frequently cited as the culprit for housing shortages. And while some archaic regulations do hinder supply, the narrative often ignores how these laws can be leveraged to restrict affordable development, protecting the property values of existing, wealthier homeowners and pricing out younger generations. Furthermore, tax policies often favor large-scale investors over individual homeowners. providing incentives for holding properties as rental income generators. Then there's the push towards a smart city paradigm, often championed by organizations like the World Economic Forum. These initiatives envision cities where everything is monitored, optimized, and centrally managed. In such a future, individual property ownership becomes an ideological inconvenience. It's far more efficient, from their perspective, to have a population that is entirely reliant on rental agreements, subscribing to services rather than owning assets. This allows for greater control, greater data collection, and a more pliable populace. Then there's the psychological conditioning, the relentless media narrative that homeownership is too expensive, out of reach, or not worth the hassle. They condition you to accept a new reality, one where perpetual renting is not only normal, but perhaps even preferable. The subscription economy, which has infiltrated everything from software to entertainment, is now being extended to your most fundamental need, shelter. You'll rent access to everything, forever beholden to the provider. This isn't just about financial loss, it's about the erosion of freedom. Homeownership has historically provided a sense of rootedness, stability, and independence. It offers a tangible asset that can be passed down, a foundation upon which families can build generational wealth. When that is removed, when the vast majority of the population is relegated to perpetual tenancy, their economic stability becomes entirely contingent on the will of their landlords. Rent increases and the constant threat of displacement aren't just economic stressors. They are tools of social control. The "you'll own nothing and be happy" mantra, famously associated with the World Economic Forum's vision for 2030, is not a fringe conspiracy theory. It's an explicit statement of intent. When Klaus Schwab says this, he's articulating a strategic goal within a broader agenda of global economic restructuring. The housing market is ground zero for this experiment. If they can convince you that owning a home is an unattainable luxury, they have successfully paved the way for a society where the means of shelter are concentrated in the hands of a powerful few. The consequences are profound. We are witnessing the creation of a permanent underclass, locked out of the primary mechanism for wealth creation. This exacerbates inequality, hollows out the middle class, and creates a deeply stratified society. It impacts family formation, as young people delay or forego having children when they lack stable housing. It destroys community cohesion, as neighborhoods become transient hubs of renters, with little vested interest in the long-term health of their local areas. But this isn't just a lament. It's a call to awareness. Understanding the game is the first step toward reclaiming our agency. This isn't an act of nature. It's an act of policy and power. They want you to believe it's inevitable, that it's simply the market. But markets are shaped by rules, and those rules are written by people with specific outcomes in mind. So, what can be done? The solutions are complex, requiring a fundamental rethinking of our economic priorities. It means advocating for policies that prioritize human shelter over corporate profit. It means challenging the narrative that demonizes homeownership and glorifies perpetual tenancy. It means scrutinizing the actions of central banks and demanding accountability. It means supporting local initiatives that promote genuinely affordable housing, like community land trusts and cooperative ownership models. It means recognizing that your individual struggle to buy a home is not a personal failing, but a symptom of a much larger systemic problem designed to disempower you. The housing bubble is not just about inflated prices. It's about inflated control. It's about a world where a fundamental aspiration is being undermined to serve a grander, more centralized agenda. Don't be fooled by the distractions. Look past the headlines, beyond the talking points, and understand the true forces at play. Your future and your autonomy depend on it. If you found this analysis insightful, if it resonated with the questions you've been asking yourself, then consider subscribing to this channel. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear this truth, because the more we understand, the more difficult it becomes for them to execute their plan. Your engagement is critical in pushing back against this agenda. Thanks for watching.